Okay, good morning everyone. It is Wednesday, August 11th, 2021, and we're going to get started with our pre-market analysis for the S&P 500 futures market in just a moment here. I do want to point out that we did have a pretty strong reaction off the news at 8:30 Eastern for CPI. Got a pretty strong push, and now we are breaking the all-time high and now pushing to new highs here. Now, in the overnight session, we happened to have a really nice double bottom type situation where we came down to 44.2075 just around midnight Pacific time, and then pushed out of that and then pulled back, and then right around 2 a.m. Pacific, we came down and retested that 2075, and we got bullish divergence on pretty much every time frame. So you can see it from the 4-hour to the 60-minute to the 30-minute, down to the 10-minute, down to the 3-minute. You can see it even arguably here on the 1-minute off that second test of 2075, and you also see it over here on the 512 tick chart. So pretty much every single time frame from the 4-hour down gave a very clear bullish divergence when we came down and retested 2075. And so this current push right here is not too surprising from that perspective. Of course, the news did come out here right at 5:30 Pacific for CPI and got that huge reaction. One other thing I do want to quickly point out here before we get into the pre-market analysis is that, well, I guess this is part of it. We did have, is this the chart? We'll go to the 30-minute here. So we had this leg that we talked about that yesterday where we bounced off the 50% of this previous leg and then extended up to the 27 extension of that previous leg. And then we had this new leg here from around 43.91 up to the highs that we made somewhere around 33 here, and then talked about how price pulled back and then bounced essentially right off that 50%, it looks like, to the tick, and then continued to go higher here. Well, I just wanted to point out that between those few legs, in fact, in not looking at the minor leg, but looking at the overall, if we get rid of this minor leg and we look at the first leg that we made here, that gave us that 44.31, the next level was up at 61.8 extension, was up here around 44.48, and you can see the minor leg itself had a 27 extension at 44.50 here. When we zoom into this most recent leg, from the previous daily low to the previous daily high, you can see that the 27 extension brings us right to 44.44. If we zoom back here, you can see this previous extension 44.50. This is 44.44 quarter, and then the first leg 44.48. So right up in that area, everything is kind of pushing for that to be our first area of resistance on this continued push. So I figured I would go ahead and point that out. So let's jump to the ultra high time frames here and take a look at what they are saying. Now our quarterly is going to be very, very strong because we're now pushing to make new all-time highs in the pre-market session here. So quarterly looking very strong, monthly looking very strong, no signs of exhaustion, same situation on the weekly. So every single ultra high time frame has no indications of exhaustion whatsoever, and they just look very strong. When we get to our daily, remember we talked about the bullish case off of the low of, I believe that was Monday's candle there. So when Monday's daily candle closed, we got a bullish divergence off the low. So as of Monday afternoon, we did have a bullish case that we talked about, and since then, yesterday and coming into today, we have continued to push higher to new all-time highs. Right now, the current daily candle, not really saying anything at all. There's no signs of exhaustion and things look strong. So now we have 4 high time frames all giving us bullish case with no signs of exhaustion. Let's go down to our 4-hour, and this is kind of the first time frame where we do get a little bit of a bearish exhaustion pattern off of the current high. But again, that's what we've been getting as the market has pushed here again for months and months. As we push, we do get little signs of exhaustion, and then we get these little small pullbacks, and then the bulls just continue to push here. So we do want to keep in mind that although we do have this exhaustion pattern off the highs, we do have very clear bullish divergences off the lows. And here is that subsequent 4-hour candle where we got the bullish indication off of what we could see is a double bottom on the shorter time frames down here around 20-quarter. So bullish indications off the lows. So I would not put too much weight on that, especially because all these higher time frames, all 4 of these higher time frames, have absolutely no signs of exhaustion. So we can continue to expect this to push higher, which has really been our bias for quite a while now. When we get to our 60-minute, there's that double bottom with a very clear bullish divergence. And then, yes, you can see right now maybe a little bit of an exhaustion pattern off the current high, which is our new all-time high. So again, pretty similar to what we've been seeing in this market for quite a while now. Let's go down to our 30-minute here and take a look. Now you could also see from those previous swing highs back here, you could still make that argument. We've pushed higher, but the RVI is still a little bit lower. I think this picture is going to be quickly changing here. But for now, we don't want to ignore it because at least it is there. A lot of times, if we ignore a signal, it ends up working. So we do want to keep this in mind that this high is showing some bearishness right now on the shorter time frames, not on the intermediate time frames. And then, of course, the double bottom down here and the bullish indication off the previous daily low as well. When we get to our 10-minute, basically agrees with the 30-minute and the 60-minute, the bullish case off that double bottom in the overnight session. Another bullish indication here after we bounced out of that double bottom, got a pullback right to the prediction point there, another nice bullish indication. So again, before we had CPI this morning, and this is why I tell everyone that looking at the market through this lens will give you indications of what's going to happen before it does happen. And we've seen this. I remember we were in the trade room one morning and we were talking about the highs showing a lot of bearish indications, and then within 2 or 3 minutes of that we had this huge sell-off, and we were literally talking about the potential of a very big sell-off, and then, quote, the news came out and then the market tanked, even though we saw written in the cards before the market sold off that the market had the potential to do exactly that, more so than the opposite. And so this morning, having all these bullish indications off the double bottom and then seeing the bullish case on the pullback here on the 10-minute, probably even saw it on the 3-minute and the 1-minute. We already saw before 5:30, before the CPI news came out, we had a bullish case, and so far we're now up almost 20 points from when the news came out there at 5:30. So right now everything's looking very strong. There's that 44.44 up above us here from this previous leg, the previous daily low to the previous daily high, and we're literally a point or two away from it now. So 1 point from that extension. Just zooming out here, remember we did have that 49 area, so right around the 61.8 extension up here. It would be the next area that we could expect some resistance. Doesn't mean we're going to reverse from there, but definitely some potential for some resistance up in those areas. So that's kind of where we stand for the morning here. Everything still looks very, very bullish, with just some signs of exhaustion on some of the intermediate time frames at the current high that we've just made. and that means that we could potentially see a shallow pullback, but we're still looking for longs, expecting this market to continue to push. So looking for longs on pullbacks, and keep in mind that we do have some pretty good levels below us here marked on the chart. So if price does pull back, we can look for some signals, and if the signals and the levels match up, we can go ahead and try them for a larger push higher. $36.25 there. It's going to be another minor level, so not something we want to ignore there. 36.25. And it just is what it is. I know we have 38.25, the previous daily high, so that is, you know, a fixed number there, and this just happens to be a pretty decent support and resistance level here, right around 36.25. So